The parliamentary resolution that guarantees a National Bank loan of $18 million is expected to enable SCELEC to implement advanced metering infrastructure on St. Kitts. The resolution that was introduced by Energy Minister Conway Maynard in the January sitting of the National Assembly facilitates the opportunity for the statutory corporation, the St. Kitts Electricity Corporation, to modernize the metering system to create a number of beneficial outcomes for the corporation and for consumers as well, according to Minister Maynard, who was also positive in his comments about the impact of the facilitating resolution.
This project is vitally important for a number of reasons as outlined here. Importantly, SCELEC's ability to respond and understand where there are challenges on the grid. These meters will help greatly. So the meter will be able to tell what is happening on the side of the consumer and the side of the supplier or the of SCELEC. So we can know exactly what has caused the fault and how to respond to it. It will be able to zero down into usage patterns, be able to assist us in terms of stabilizing the grid where there needs to be attention, to highlight where there are potential problems so that they can react much faster. It will also assist, of course, as we turn to renewable energy sources by having the capability, of course, to facilitate renewable energy placed on consumers' houses, for instance, rooftop solar or any other type of renewable energy they may have to go back into the grid. All of these things will be facilitated with this new top-level AMI solution. It is important to note that there were in the past some meters that should have done some of these things. However, there were challenges with those meters. In particular, the frequency in which those meters communicated was not an approved band of frequency in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so it was interfering with other operators that had those approved frequencies. And so this one now will has gotten the clearance from the National Telecommunication Regulatory Commission, the NTRC, and the frequencies that it will use are now permitted and have been sanctioned, and they have been given the all clear.
Meanwhile, in a Facebook post of the People's Labour Party, which is led by former Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, the PLP claims the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party is adding financial burdens to the people and accuses the government of little compassion for the working class citizens. The PLP post reads in part, quote, "The resolution is clear. If you are behind on your bills, get ready for disconnection. If you are a meter reader, get ready to lose your job. This government seems to care more about pushing through an agenda that benefits corporate interests than protecting the well-being of the very people who put them in office. It's alarming that this is happening at a time when many are already struggling to make ends meet, and yet the July administration shows little to no concern for the working class. Instead of focusing on solutions that create sustainable jobs and uplift the citizens, they are once again focusing on corporate-driven projects that result in layoffs, debt burdens, and further hardships for the people of this nation," end quote. According to the government express plans, part of the energy focus of the administration is to ensure renewable energy is successful in creating the foundation to create a sustainable island state for St. Kitts and Nevis. Glenn Barr reporting for SK Newsline. Premier Mark Brantley clarified comments he made regarding the value-added tax, or VAT, when questioned about the purported double VAT payments for goods destined for Nevis. The Premier expressed the view that he was misunderstood, and his concern was the manner in which VAT is calculated on products and services that inherently would make those products and services higher than they need to be. At his recent January press conference, the Premier explained why the current VAT calculation has a negative consequence for business and consumers.
What I said was that the way that VAT is computed is, in my view, putting undue pressure on our people. Because currently, and I made these comments at the federal parliament during the budget, currently if you bought an item for $100, let us say it costs $100 when you include your cost, insurance, and freight. So when it gets to long point, it's $100. And the duty on it is 20%. They work out the duty, that's $20. The customs service charge is 6%. They work that out as $6. What they're doing is taking the $100 CIF, adding the customs duty, $20, adding the customs service charge, $6, and then charging the VAT 17%, not on $100, but on $126. So you're paying tax on tax. And that is the comment that I made and thought that we need to fix that. So that if you're going to charge the VAT, then it becomes a straight line. So everything is charged on CIF. So that you would then have 20%, $20 duty, 6% customs service charge, $6, 17% VAT, $17. And then your total cost will be 100 plus 20 plus 6 plus 17, as opposed to currently where they're adding back the duty and adding back the customs service charge and then using that now as the figure to calculate the VAT. So that was the comment that I made on that, and I'm still hopeful that the federal government will take that on board. That has been a concern certainly from the small business community. They say that that adds significantly to their costs.
Meanwhile, in a 6-month trial, the federal government reduced VAT from 17% to 13% in the hope that savings would be transferred to consumers. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
I love the cable because they really look out for different groups of people. I'm on the creative pack, and they provide services tailored and dedicated to people just like me.
Introducing St. Kitts and Nevis' newest TV channel, Television Caribbean, TVC Channel 40 on the cable's Ultra TV. TVC promises to deliver the finest in television broadcasting in St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean, with some of the best local programs in news, sports, and entertainment. Join us for Insights, where we delve into the lives of our guests.
Let me see what happens if I put this to it. Big explosion, like, okay, note to self, don't do that again.
Or get in-depth analysis on Newsline 360. We have sports, entertainment, and inspiration. It's all here on TVC Channel 40 on the cable's Ultra TV, on TelTV Cable Network in St. Martin, and on our website www.tvcplus.live. TVC Channel 40. See the difference.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
I love the cable because they're real. What you see is what you get. No hidden agenda, no tricks, just real, honest communication.
The recent announcement of the posthumous pardon of civil rights leader and Jamaican Pan-Africanist Marcus Garvey has been met with mixed reactions from observers in the Caribbean and abroad. The pardon was granted by outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden. Garvey, considered one of the forerunners of the civil rights movement in the United States, was charged with mail fraud in the U.S. in the 1920s before his sentence was commuted and he was later deported to Jamaica. Many believed his imprisonment was politically motivated and designed to quell his civil rights activity, which is gaining much momentum in a racially charged United States. The news of his pardon was greeted with much approval by observers in the Caribbean and abroad, but some believe it is not enough and he should be completely exonerated of the crime. One such person is Ras Aya of the Nyabingi Theocracy Order in St. Kitts and Nevis. He shared his views in a recent interview with SKN Newsline.
That was nothing generally to bring to a defense of what Marcus Garvey stands for. Now, when you look at the things that we realize that were brought against Marcus Garvey, a pardoning cannot bring the insert of justice to Marcus Garvey. And knowing the best thing Biden could have done is exonerate Marcus Garvey because he wasn't doing nothing wrong. But these are the instances of what the states look at trying to make they have something done on a permanent basis to say they have changed the ideal of how we face to live with one another. But in the same breath, we still have something hanging on the head of Marcus Garvey. So we are the justice really formulated in that to say when you indicate as a pardoning, who you're pardoning him for? What the position you are, the grounds pardoning.
So you're not impressed with a pardon?
No pardon bring no relief to Marcus Garvey's name. It not. Some people might be insisting that say that is a start, but the real factor is that Marcus Garvey was very imminent to stand against all odds, and whether they see him of or whether they know him of, he always see himself as a man not being guilty of the charges that were facing him against him. Even of his own peers were one imminent to being instrumental against him and all. So I would say pardoning, bringing a release of Marcus Garvey.
The United Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, an organization founded by Garvey, shares Ras Aya's views. President of the Jamaican chapter of the UNIA, Stephen Golden, on All Angles, a news and current affairs TV program in Jamaica, echoed similar sentiments.
I think what is important is the example that Jamaica laid down in 2018 when by an act of parliament we exonerated Mr. Garvey here along with a number of our other national heroes who had been convicted of crimes during the colonial government period. I think that's an example of what the U.S. Congress needs to follow. I hear everybody talking about, we don't know about this presidency. Listen, presidents can only pardon. Interestingly enough, Donald Trump pardoned Jack Johnson, who was a contemporary of Marcus Garvey as the first black heavyweight, and who they had charged with the Mann Act. Interestingly enough, before they charged Garvey for mail fraud, they had tried to charge him with the Mann Act also for traveling with Amy Jakes Garvey before they had gotten married. But it's no longer within the remit of the president. They can do nothing more. Presidents could never exonerate. You know, I'm still waiting to see what the pardon says. I saw Dr. Angela Brown talking about if the pardon admits that he was set up, then it's an exoneration to them. But legally, it's not. An exoneration means the U.S. justice system admits to doing a wrong, and then there are questions of reparations or maybe compensation that the family can bring up.
Prime Minister of Jamaica Andrew Holness welcomed the posthumous pardon, calling it a first step towards total exoneration and expungement of this historical injustice. Jamaica's opposition People's National Party sees the pardon as an exoneration of Marcus Garvey. The Caribbean community, CARICOM, expressed its profound gratitude to the outgoing Biden administration. Marcus Garvey is Jamaica's first national hero. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline. Premier Mark Brantley is unable to provide a date as to when the new wing of the Alexandra Hospital will be completed. The new wing has been under construction since it broke ground in 2017 and has hit several snags, delays, and cost overruns. At his latest monthly press conference, Premier Brantley was asked for an update on the project.
When exactly will work resume on the hospital wing? Does the government have a potential completion date?
When does work resume on the hospital, and do I have an end date? The short answer is that I cannot respond to that yet because our assessment is ongoing. We have engaged various experts and individuals, construction firms, who are doing their final assessments, and we therefore hope to come back to you with accurate information about a start once they've done the assessment, and they will also be able to give us a sense of what the finish date is going to be like. But I'm reluctant to say we're going to start next month, and when it doesn't happen, then that, of course, leads to further chatter in the public sphere. So let us do what we need to do. Let us complete what we need to do. We are waiting now some reports, and once we have those, we'll be able to tell you definitively when we will restart.
Meanwhile, Premier Brantley has clarified that the budget amounts included in the estimates for this year and the upcoming years allocated for the expansion of the hospital wing are just estimates and does not necessarily reflect how much is being spent on the project.
The fact that you see a provision in the line item does not mean that that money was spent. So it is merely a projection that if we are to get this project going, this is what we anticipate we will spend this year on the project. So where you saw 8 million, that money was not spent. So we are anticipating that if we can get this project going as we planned this year, that the anticipated spend will be $12 million. That is where we are in relation to the hospital project. So I don't want you to go away with a misconception that those monies were spent but somehow not on the hospital. The budgetary process, as I tried to explain earlier, is simply a process where we project what we anticipate to do, and as I've indicated, we don't do it if we can't find the money to do it within our debt management strategy. So I want to make that very clear.
The estimates show $8 million allocated for the new wing for 2025 and $12 million each for 2026 to 2028. Andre Huey, SKN News.